Now I would like to ask all of you, what is your, or what do you expect from market participants? What is your political stance on that? The State Secretary should speak first, I think. Well, of course, then I will briefly sum it up. I expect that market participants are open toward the use of wood, because in Germany we have not yet achieved what is the standard in other European countries, what Mr. Lins might know. The positive development, the positive use of wood not only as a carbon sink, but also as building material in architecture. So we don't see this openness yet in Germany. And there's also a lack of openness from the side of architects and constructors, for example, to use calamity wood. This would decrease also the pressure on prices, for instance. So I expect from market participants, architects, construction companies to be open towards the use of wood as a construction material and use it more actively than they do today. We also need to go beyond the pilot projects of nice apartment buildings made of wood that serve as examples. We need to escalate this. State Secretary Fuchtel. Yes, I would like to simply add to what has already been said. We need to transmit this sense of sitting in one boat and fleshing it out. Sometimes I ask myself why not even some regions manage to forge agreements on using wood in a certain region in order to send out a clear signal. So this is a very clear sector where we have a problem. And we also need to start with children's education. We need to show them what wood can be used for. And we also need cooperations, partnerships, bring children, for example, to sawmills so that they can see the production there. And vocational training, for example, needs to be strengthened there. There's a lack of carpenters, for example, here in Germany. Quite a reduced numbers of carpenters, for example, in my region, the Black Forest region. So we need to start in schools, in training centers. And I think this would be quite a good idea. And then the next step would be to address architects. For example, regarding the supply with woods and the implementation of wood as a construction material is an issue. The supply is not always secured, and therefore architects shy away from using wood as a construction material. So if architects and construction companies don't know if they will receive the necessary supply in due time, of course they are reluctant to use it. So here we need better coordination and cooperation. And it is also about increasing the share of waste wood, for example, the processing of waste wood, in order to actually achieve a true circular economy. And of course, taking up innovations. So at the moment we are coming up with new methods, but this needs courageous innovations for the future. And this also has to do a lot with our programs and initiatives in order to make a contribution at national and European level. I would like to talk about the forestry and wood industries, but at the moment we are talking about society. So therefore I would like to ask you, Do you have a clear vision? Are there programs, initiatives for consumers, starting with children and ranging from one sector to different sectors, that are quite reluctant to use wood? Should I start? Well, there are different initiatives in our federal state, for example, Pro Holz, where we bring all stakeholders to the table, thus trying to use the construction material wood to bring it more to the attention of people. Also, our consumer protection organization is supporting us here. Our Minister for Building is also taking part in these initiatives. She has a very great interest in cooperating more with construction companies that use wood. So there is a great number of initiatives that we have launched in our federal state. And we hope that we will be able to implement it at great scale. But frankly speaking, at the moment, we are not there yet. There is still a lot of ground to cover. Okay, so let's take a look at the forestry and wood industry. The new forest strategy has just been mentioned. Maybe we can go into more detail here. What are the expectations? Who would like to give an answer? Well, the expectation is clear. We need to focus on reforestation and need to support those strategies that provide us with a security, that give us a guarantee that are resilient to threats. This has to do with beetle infestation, for instance, or other threats that our forests are facing. So we need to take very important steps here in order to sustainably use and process wood. Mr. Lins, would you like to make a contribution, or should I continue? One thing is clear. Our forests need to be restructured. My colleague, Mr. Fuchtel, just mentioned this. We need climate-stable forests. What does this mean? This means that we need to shift away from softwood forests because they don't work anymore. Given the future droughts that we will certainly face. We are working on that also with different tools, with funds that the federal government is making available to us. It is remarkable what the federal government has earmarked for the federal states, the support that they have given us and are giving us. So we need stable mixed forests that can cope better with the climatic situation. But we need more appreciation for forests, because our greatest concern is that our forest farmers will give up. They might say, well, the forests were grown over the last decades, but in the last 3 years they have been damaged or destroyed. So we need to ensure that they can make an income. It does not simply suffice to have beautiful forests. Our forest farmers, forest owners need to be able to make a profit from their property. So we need to address not only climate change mitigation, but also the generation of incomes. Mr. Lins, would you like to make a contribution as well? Yes, thank you very much. On the one hand, I would just like to add something to what the Parliamentary State Secretary said. Afforestation with climate-adapted tree species. Sometimes I feel that this is an ideological debate. Some people say that some tree species should not be used even though they have been endemic for centuries. I don't think that this will lead to the results that we want to see. It is important that management of these forests is guaranteed. So leaving the forests to themselves does not really lead to the objectives that we would like to see. If we want to use wood increasingly, then of course we need increased woodlands, and we need to have more forests. So we need to ensure that forests and trees can grow, and that we use tree species that deliver the wood after several decades that we need. I come from a region in Germany where we have small plots of forests, so less than 1 hectare of forest, for example. So this means that, at least in my region, we need to ensure that these small forest owners are able to manage their small plots of land, of forests. So these very much fragmented forest areas need to be managed, and we need to support the management of these forests. It is always very helpful to hear these different experiences on these topics. Mr. Fuchtel, I would like to come back to something you said at the beginning. You said that for our life on Earth, or that our life on Earth is not a dress rehearsal, that we need to take responsibility. But when it comes to responsibility, there's always a lot of finger pointing. And we have a full circle there, not in the sense of a circular economy. So how can we actually implement this principle of responsibility in practice? How can it be effective? Well, this can only be successful if we agree on certain criteria, that there's agreement to these criteria, and that these criteria are then fleshed out in detail in order to find solutions. Only by doing that we can be successful. We have seen in the past in our initiatives at national level that they have only been successful if we worked in that manner. So in order to promote our initiatives at national level, if we take this approach, then we are successful. So we need to approach each other and draw solutions from this cooperation. For example, there is the Borchert Commission that addresses a very different political topic. And with this commission, we achieved much more than with very different approaches that we had taken in the past. So it seems to me that the discussions in the past have concentrated too little on new approaches and initiatives. And for example, what Federal Minister Klöckner raised, rewarding forest owners, this is also very important. So implementing this is necessary. And find a consensus within society. The issue is that many people only see black or white. They don't see the whole spectrum of colors in between. So many people don't have the motivation to participate in these initiatives, and we need to overcome this. Even if the road is difficult, you can be successful and reach the destination that you would like to reach. A final question for all of you. Unfortunately, you won't be with us this afternoon because you have other responsibilities to attend to. So we have this Charter for Wood 2.0. We have had this for the last 4 years, and now taking a look at the future. From your point of view, if you had to sum up what has been achieved and what needs to be the next step, what would you say? Well, our achievements, we have achieved that the concept of sustainability has been understood in relation to wood. And also a lot of research has been done, and it has been realized that there is a need for this research. And I personally am very much convinced that we need to continue on this path and that we need to advance and more quickly implement these research projects in practice. We have made much headway here, but we still need to do more. I believe that in our current legislative period we have achieved a lot with regard to wood and also using wood as a construction material. Our federal government has made a lot of headway here, has put this issue on the top of the agenda. What we need to do now in the future is what I mentioned in my welcoming speech. We need to implement these measures at a larger scale, use and face these challenges. If we want to actually achieve our sustainability criteria, then we need to escalate the issue of wood use in the construction sector. But first of all, I would like to thank the federal government, the minister, the state secretary for this initiative. Well, I can only add to that. My federal state, my home country, so to speak, Baden-Württemberg, we just completed the coalition negotiations and supported the wood construction initiative there. And at European level, I believe that there is one very important project, the revision of the LULUCF initiative, the land use change initiative. I believe that this would support the use of wood, especially the material use of wood, if we were able to implement this at European level. Thank you very much to all of you. Much success in your future work for wood, for the Charter for Wood. And now I would like to wish you a great day.